it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, September 23rd. So we had the moon in Leo go void, of course, yesterday, spent the majority of the day in that void, creating a lot of instability, creating a lot of chaos. Of course, it was the last day of closing out the old cycle as we approach the equinox energy, Libra season, that of course gives us a clean slate and even playing ground in order to build upon as we move forward. We are seeking stability, we are seeking balance, we are seeking peace and harmony within our circumstances. We are trying to realign our heart and our head, and we are working actively to try and rearrange our exterior realm to match the inner realm revelations that we have been kind of exposed to, even though things still don't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. So there's a lot of energy because the moon shifts into Virgo energy, 3:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here today, which is interesting, seeing as we just left Virgo season. We're in Libra season now, which again should give us a little bit of a lighter vibe. If you haven't listened to the Libra season astro forecast, I'm going to recommend you go ahead and you do so. So here we are now in an air energy, which should again be a little bit of a lighter vibe compared to the earth energy that we've been in Virgo season. But then the moon goes ahead and moves into Virgo energy, grounding us, making us very analytical of our emotions, really doing a deep dive to see where it is that we're still not really addressing some of the emotional wounds that we have to address in order to return to a state of wholeness. Even more than that, we have Mercury, we have the sun fresh in this Libran energy, bumping together, giving us this beautiful window of clarity just in time for Mercury to slip back into Virgo energy. So we got a lot going on here today. We have to keep in mind that Venus is also in Virgo energy, so we're not quite clear of the Virgo earthy low and slow energy as of yet. We are definitely still in this whirlwind window of trying to adjust to these new energies. Again, the equinox gives us an equal playing field where day and night are equal, where light and dark are equal, where the feminine and masculine energies within us are also equal. But as we move forward, of course, the darkness is going to rule. We move into a time where, the days aren't as light or as long as they used to be. And of course, sitting in the darkness illuminates our shadow elements, illuminates where it is that there's more healing work to be done. So we do kind of have to expect that today is also going to be a little bit wonky because, of course, we're adjusting to these new energies. We have Mercury and the sun popping off, which is always a very interesting time, setting up a brand new cycle for us to gain some clarity, some perspectives. And then, like I mentioned, Mercury is moving back into its place of power in Virgo energy, still very much retrograde, but in its place of power, we're starting to piece things together. Yes, we're over analytical. Yes, we are looking at the critical details of our lives. Yes, we are coming up with solutions to some of the problems, but we may find that we are too stuck in our heads. Now that we are in Libran energy, also in air energy, also in the mental plane, we're trying to balance out the details, the pros and cons, the inner debate that we have been in order to find a new grounded point. So be very, very gracious and grateful with yourself. Be very patient, be very kind. Things are going to feel a little bit cray-cray, a little bit all over the place, especially seeing as we are moving into the new moon window. We are going to have our new moon in Libra on Sunday, which is just going to add an extra layer of, I'm going to say, introspection, because, of course, as we approach a new moon, there is no light in the sky. We have to sit with ourselves, our shadow selves, sit with ourselves in the darkness, really just kind of I'm going to say tap into our intuition and feel our way through our emotions and thoughts because, of course, our mental plane, our intellect, our logic and practicality is not working as strongly as we would like. So there are 10 different aspects taking place here today, and 8 of them involve the moon. While the moon is still in Leo energy, still in the void, though, we do have an interaction, a positive one, with Jupiter. Jupiter is about growth and expansion, blessings, beliefs, and Jupiter is currently retrograde in Aries energy, really showing us, especially back to April and May of this year, where it is that we jumped in to trying to create a new chapter, a new beginning, a new cycle, a new season for ourselves, and where it is that maybe things didn't go so well. We have a chance right now to review that, to revise those plans, and Jupiter being in this Aries energy, regardless of whether it's retrograde or not, is kind of showing us where it is that there is individual personal growth by rising to the challenge, to the obstacles, to the blockages that were being faced in order to push through them, tap into that warrior spirit, really kind of pour I'm going to say a new level of trust into ourselves, into the greater, grander universe. And because the moon in Leo, still very fired up, very bold, brave, and courageous, is interacting with Jupiter in this way, we are definitely rising to the challenge. Now, that doesn't mean that we're taking action in our physical realm because we're not quite there yet. We're not supported in doing anything very big in our physical realms as right now we're kind of working on our inner realm, but this is kind of a alignment, if you will, with our passion, with our desire, with our truth, with our mission, with our purpose. And of course, Jupiter magnifies whatever it is that's going on inside of us. And right now there is a brand new energy trying to be renewed. Our spirit is trying to be renewed in order for us to be, again, bold and brave and courageous to go after what it is that we want. The moon in Leo, still void, is going to make a positive aspect with Mars. Mars, of course, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire, who is in Gemini energy, the battlefield of the intellect, using our words, our thoughts, our ideas as the weapon of choice. This is a good energy because, of course, fire and air, if it's balanced, we have a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas coming in, fueling the spark, the fire, the passion in our heart space. This is a good opportunity to be a little bit more aggressive with sorting out the plans that we have, trying to move forward, really kind of leaning into one choice, one decision, one option, one path, one direction over the other, and really getting in touch with where it is that we need to be motivated, we need to be inspired, we need to be determined in order to actually pursue this new path or mission and actually see it through. Mercury goes ahead and bumps into, sits next to, teams up with the sun. The sun is fresh into Libran energy. Mercury is in the 0 degree of Libran energy because it's going backwards, preparing to move back into the 29th critical degree of Virgo energy. But as it makes its way back to its place of power in Virgo energy, it bumps into, teams up with, meets up with the sun. The sun, of course, shining a bright light on where it is that we need to rebalance the scales in our lives, find peace, make harmony within ourselves, within the circumstances of our lives, and more importantly, in our relationship dynamics. The sun is our life force energy. It is where we have to kind of pour our time, energy, focus, and attention into for this season. And the whole goal of Libra season is to find balance in our lives. And we may find that balance through living in extremes. Mercury, of course, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information and communication, retrograde, doing a huge reflection, a huge revision of the past, being at this particular point where this interaction between Mercury and the sun is called a chasmy. It is basically where we get a bright light shone on the details that we may have missed in our mental plane, in communication, shining a bright light on areas of our relationships that are out of whack, that are not in balance, that peace and harmony needs to be restored in. Now, anytime that the sun interacts with a planet, this is a huge bright light being shone on a different area of our lives. And right now, this particular light is being shone on our mental plane, on our perspective, on our understanding. This is literally a beautiful window of opportunity to see things a little bit more clearly than what it is that we have been kind of understanding. Lord knows the confusion has been at an all-time high. So this particular interaction is pretty powerful. We will likely feel anxiety, a lot of jitteriness, a lot of pressure in the head, and we're kind of getting, I'm going to say, a new layer revealed on what it is that needs to be fixed, what it is that needs to be solved, what it is that needs to be corrected. And of course, when Mercury moves back into Virgo energy in its place of power, that's where we problem solve. So this is definitely a powerful energy, a powerful interaction between the two, and giving us a different perspective and understanding, a huge tunnel and window of insight that we wouldn't have otherwise seen. The moon still in Leo energy. This is actually the last aspect that the moon in Leo is going to make before locking into this Virgo energy. And this is a very uncomfortable and awkward situation with Chiron, the wounded healer. So Chiron is retrograde in Aries energy. Its whole mission is to show us where it is that we have kind of been going through this identity crisis, where it is that we've been rebuilding, rebranding ourselves. And we are doing that through taking a good look at our wounds, at our trauma, at our pain, and really getting a grip on what it is that we need to do to try and provide ourselves with a little bit of, I'm going to say, help, support, encouragement to bring ourselves out of that funk and, of course, do the work that we need to do to heal these particular identity issues. Now, the moon in Leo, very connected to the heart space, is definitely going to feel a lot of doubts, a lot of insecurities, especially seeing that the moon is at the 29th critical degree in this Leo energy as we prepare to move on to this Virgo energy. And that 29th degree always adds a little bit of pressure, and it always adds a little bit of intensity. And because the interaction with Chiron is an uncomfortable one, it doesn't really scream growth. It doesn't scream healing. It screams opening up these wounds. Now this, although it doesn't feel good, is needed because we have to be illuminated to what isn't working, what doesn't feel good, where it is that we're still hurt, are still wounded. Because when the moon moves into Virgo energy, that's when we are able to heal through providing solutions to what it is that we just identified isn't working, maybe is broken, maybe still hurts. So we do have to kind of rip these wounds wide open as we move out of this Leo energy in order to prepare for a healing to take place when the moon moves into Virgo, which it will at 3:54 a.m. Again, Eastern Standard Time. So when the moon actually moves into Virgo, we become a little bit, I'm going to say, weighted, a little bit more critical, a little bit more anxious, because Virgo energy, although an earth energy, is ruled over by Mercury, the mental plane, and we're very stuck in our heads. We have the ability to pick things apart, look at the smaller details, not only of our head space, but the moon is our heart space, our unconscious selves as well, which means that we're able to do a deep dive into our psyche, into our heart space, into the details of our lives to see, again, what is broken, what is not working in order for us to provide solutions in order to fix it. The moon in Virgo, very grounded, very connected to the here and now. It is an earth energy. We do feel heavy. We do feel weighted. We can kind of expect a little bit of a visit from Negative Nancy and Betty the Bully. We do have to kind of understand that we have to tear things apart and break things down in order to put them them back together in a much better and stronger way. The first aspect that the moon in Virgo makes is an interaction with Mercury, who, again, at a 0 degree in Libran energy, preparing to creep back into Virgo energy, but not quite there yet. This particular interaction is really going to put us at odds. We're going to see the gap, the difference between our heart and our head. The moon, of course, our heart space, our unconscious selves, our intuition, our old attachments, very stuck in the past, while the Mercury energy, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of the information, is the head space, and Mercury rules over Virgo energy. So this is like a clash with the ruler of this Virgo moon. What this is going to do, again, is going to show us how far apart our head currently is with our heart space. And of course, the whole attempt, now that we're in Libra season, is to get the two on the same page. Why? Well, because the heart and the head have to be in agreement before we can engage the physical body to go ahead and make moves and take action to rearrange and make adjustments to our physical realm to start mirroring back to us what it is that we've decided in our inner realm. So the moon and Mercury interacting in this way is going to create a little bit of a cluster F in our heart space, in our head space. Wouldn't be surprised if we have a little bit of a confrontation, a little bit of a situation popping off in our personal relationships. Again, Libra season is going to highlight our relationships where the energy exchange is out of whack, what relationships need to dissolve and which ones need to kind of deepen to the next level of connection and intimacy. If you have something popping off coming at you in a personal relationship, keep in mind that the energy is not stable, that people are not thinking clearly, we are not expressing ourselves very efficiently at all, that misunderstandings, miscommunications are at an all-time high, and that we will likely have to revisit this particular situation and conversation later when Mercury goes direct in order to clear the air and kind of get back on the same page and resolve a lot of the conflict that will likely happen with all of these wonky energies. The moon goes ahead and bumps into the sun in not such a pleasant way, which means that the sun, again, illuminating for us relationships, where we are living in extremes, where there is no balance, where we are struggling to make peace with one another, with the circumstances in our lives, where we are lacking harmony, where we are lacking the ability to communicate and negotiate and compromise effectively. Of course, we will learn these lessons as we move through Libra season, but this particular interaction is definitely going to have us feeling the weight in our heart space and feeling the pressure in our head space, constantly trying to analyze the relationship dynamic, what is being said to us, the tone in which it's said in. We are definitely doing a deep dive and again, can kind of be too much in our heads, over analyzing things, and maybe even kind of making a bigger deal out of things than it actually needs to be. At 8:05 a.m., again, Eastern Standard Time, Mercury, the ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information and communication, moves back into Virgo energy at that 29th degree, which is a critical degree. It is a very intense headspace, a very negative narrative. We have to go back and revisit some things. Keep in mind that Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, in its place of power, went retrograde in Libra on the 9th. And since the 9th of September, moving back through the degrees in this particular Libran energy, we are kind of revisiting topics and themes that began for us middle of August, taking us right up until the first week of September. Now, granted, if you listened to the September energy forecast, you would know that whatever popped off when Mercury first went retrograde will be solved and resolved when Mercury is in this Virgo energy, because we heal in Virgo energy. We problem solve in Virgo energy, and we're able to kind of see things from a different light. We're more logical and practical versus the overly emotional state that we've been in while in this Libran energy. And again, if you haven't listened to the astro forecast that I put out for all the mercurial transits, I'm going to recommend you go revisit that. We definitely are going to have a lot of aha moments, a lot of revelations, again, opening up this very interesting small window of opportunity to see things from a different perspective, a different light that is going to totally change the course of how it is that we understood certain situations, how we currently see situations, and how we are going to plan for the steps that we are going to take to resolve these situations moving forward. The moon in Virgo is going to make a positive interaction with Pluto, the god of the underworld, who is retrograde in Capricorn energy. So the moon being in Virgo energy is an earth energy. Pluto retrograde in Capricorn is an earth energy. That's why we're getting along in this interaction. Even more than that, Pluto is doing a deep dive in our psyche. That's where transformations happen first and foremost, is in our mental plane, in our psyche, in our unconscious selves, bringing certain details to light, certain emotions to light in order for us to take a second look at it. Then we have an aha moment that changes the way that we feel about the pain, about the trauma, about certain circumstances and situations that have popped off in the past. Then we have this transformation that takes place because we see things from a different light. We understand it from a different level of awareness, a different level of enlightenment, especially where, life lessons, spiritual lessons are concerned. Now, the beautiful thing here is that when we have this aha moment take place in our psyche and in our heart space, again, by analyzing the not so nice thoughts and feelings and situations and circumstances that we've had to go through, it's like an empowerment energy. Then we can step into our power. We see where we have control, where we didn't have control in the past, where we have it now. And the moon being in Virgo, being very analytical, wanting to rip open the emotions, the mental plane, to really do a deep dive to see where the primary root cause of some of our issues are concerned, why we're so harsh on ourselves, why we're so judgmental when it comes to, what it is that we're trying to do. Yes, the Virgo energy is highly critical, but for good reason. We have to discern what is working for us, what isn't working for us, where the problem started in order for us to solve it. So having the moon and Pluto interact in this way means that we are having a huge freaking aha moment from dabbling in the darkness of our shadow, from really doing a deep dive in our mental plane and in our heart space. There is a lot of revelations, of aha moments that are going to be triggered and activated that's totally going to change the way that we've been looking at certain situations, looking at how things kind of fell apart, understanding now that things had to happen in the way that they happened in order to prepare us for this present moment. Why? Because we're building into a brand new cycle, a brand new chapter of our experiences, of our enlightenment. And without that pain, without that trauma, without that struggle, we would never really truly know how strong we are, how much power we actually have, how much control we actually are able to have over ourselves and over the circumstances of our lives. Keep in mind that Pluto being retrograde in Capricorn is about recognizing where it is that we gave our power away in the past to other people, where it is that we allowed them to have a more important starring role in our lives, and where that didn't work out so well, where we did ourselves a disservice by not putting our own wants, needs, and desires first. So this particular interaction between the moon and Pluto is a positive one because it means that something flicked, a light bulb went off in our head. We understand our emotions, our thoughts, our memories from a deeper level. And because of that, that's going to change the course of how it is that we carry ourselves, plan for ourselves, take control of our lives moving forward into the future. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Jupiter, and in such a way that would suggest that there is going to be an opportunity to see things from a different perspective, especially if we're able to act as the observer, but mostly because things are about to pop off in our physical realm. Situations that we do not have control over that need to happen in order for us to see people as they are and not from the light in which we wish they would be. Now, Jupiter magnifies everything. And the moon in Virgo, very critical, very judgmental. So what I will say here is that we are looking at things with this magnifying glass. We are combing through the details of our lives with a fine-tooth comb. We are examining every freaking word said to us right now to see if there's an ulterior motive, if there is some kind of, layer there that we were unable to see. Now, this particular energy does provide us with a learning opportunity in order to actually see things again as they are instead of the way that we wish that they would be, because it's time to get real. It's time to stop deluding ourselves. It's time to really examine where it is that the fine line between hopeful and wishful and actual truthful reality, where that thin line actually lies. And I will say it will likely take place in a very close personal relationship because we're in Libra season. We have to see the ugliness. We have to see people's true colors for the way that they are instead of the way that we wish that they would be, in order for us to discern whether or not we are going to continue to pour into said relationships, or whether we are going to create boundaries, distance in said relationships in order to protect ourselves. So things are going to get big. They are going to get magnified. Keep in mind, we are in the new moon Libra window, which means that there is an element of darkness, a funk, a shadow realm of energy here, because we have to realize what it is that we don't want, what we don't want to experience, what we're freaking done with, in order for us to have new intentions to set under the new moon in Libra. Lastly, the moon in Virgo is going to bump into Chiron in a very positive way. This is a very helpful aspect, especially seeing that it follows a little bit of the pop-offs that we had earlier in the day. And the moon in Virgo interacting with Chiron, the wounded healer, in this particular way would suggest that we are actively seeing where it is that we have to come up with some solutions here. We have to fix a couple of things. Yes, we're very aware of the wounds. We're aware of the pain. We're aware of the dysfunction. We're aware of the trauma. And because we're aware of it, now we can start problem solving, which means that there's a whole lot of growth that's going on in our mental plane, in our heart space right now. There's a whole lot of focus being put on where it is that there's areas within ourselves and our relationships that need improvement. That's what this Chiron energy is all about. Yes, it exposes the wounds, but it also gives us the wisdom and the knowledge in order to heal these wounds. And because the Virgo energy is the healer of the zodiac, the physical healer to the physical circumstances, to the mental plane and the emotions, we are really identifying where it is that, we have to kind of boss up. We have to put our big girl, big boy panties on here, and where it is that we have to kind of tap into the warrior spirit of this Aries energy that Chiron is currently sitting in order to boss up and to be bold and to be brave, to draw a line in the sand in our personal relationships that are causing us pain and suffering. Again, we're in Libra season. The huge focus is going to be on boundaries, really drawing the line in some of this dysfunctional relationships in order to protect ourselves. So it does suggest that we are going to make a huge amount of growth, a huge amount of improvement, starting with our emotions, understanding them from a different level of perception, understanding what it is that we need to do in order to fix them. And of course, in the process, realizing where it is that we are actively healing our pain and trauma.